Hey, Lordy, look at the time.
Empowered.
So, welcome back to another episode of the M-PWRD Podcast. Today, I am joined by Chris, and I'm going to throw it over to you, mate. Put you straight on the spot to tell us all about what it is that you do, and then we're going to get into some questions around that.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a digital marketing freelancer. I essentially have my own agency, but it's just me. Right. And I do Google Ads and search engine optimization for people and businesses. So yeah, I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. It's going quite well. I've had over 20 clients, probably worked with over 30. Just a wide range of businesses, and it's what I've been doing essentially for the past 5-6 years for other people, and now obviously doing it for myself. It's been a big difference.
So what kind of inspired you to take the plunge into, working for other people and then saying, okay, I'm ready to do this for myself now?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to do it, literally from like the day I got into the career. But what it was is I actually ended up getting a random message from someone on LinkedIn. So I was recommended by someone to fix like a small social media problem. And someone else saw that post and was like, oh, well, I want to work with you, but I don't want to work through your agency because it'll be like crazy, way more expensive. So he was like, how much would you charge if I just came direct? And so, yeah, I just basically pulled a figure out of the air, and he, like, as a day rate, and he was like, okay, well, I want 5 days this month. Can you do that? And that sort of blew my mind, because I was like, wait a second, that's my wage for doing 5 days worth of work. And so, yeah, that's essentially how it started. And then I started sort of taking it a bit serious and thinking, actually, I can do this now. I don't need to wait until I'm 35, 40, because that's what I thought I was going to have to do.
Build up a bit of experience, build up a name for yourself, and then... put yourself in a better position than you thought you would transfer over once you'd done that and you realised that you could do it a lot earlier. Yeah,
I mean, I was already sort of managing an agency and had I was basically doing everything except, all the accounts and that sort of stuff. So I was getting the clients, I was going to the sales meetings, I was doing the entire process, but it never really occurred to me that, people would trust me as an individual as they did, to be fair, when they came into the business. It was me they were buying into after sort of the first initial inquiry. But I never thought they'd do that without me having an umbrella company with a bit more experience. But I was totally wrong. Like, they definitely bought into me, if not more, than they did with an agency.
Well, I guess it's all about the results as well. And they know that if they are working through an agency, then that they're also paying for the overheads of the agency.
Exactly.
And some of the money that they're putting into wanting to grow their business through their digital marketing is going into growing somebody else's business.
Exactly. And some of the feedback I've had is that what a lot of these big agencies will do is they'll have someone who's really experienced, and it might be 10 years experience, it might be, 40, 50-year-old guy, and he's the one who'll be talking to him on the sales calls. And as soon as that sale happens, as you know, it'll go down to, it'll be like a university graduate who barely has any experience, and you're essentially paying a premium to have someone with less experience you would use than if you used a freelancer. And so using a freelancer is almost, if I had a friend who had a business, I would recommend they find a freelancer over using a big agency, because you're going to get them cheaper and you're going to get them more experience. It's better along every margin.
You know exactly who you're getting.
Exactly.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
And do you think that's why you are doing it by yourself at the moment? Do you feel like it's something that you could see you bringing on other people to work with you? Or do you feel like your niche is that it's you who does it?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, really. I obviously want to expand, and I'm sure I will turn into a fully fledged agency and take people on eventually. But it is sort of, I would have to go away from my USP to do that. And that's one of the ways that I'm almost not stuck, but I'm treading very carefully, in that I would never want to onboard someone who believes in me and then suddenly say, okay, actually he's this, 21-year-old graduate. If I was going to bring someone on, they'd have to be as experienced.
As long as there was transparency, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, isn't it, with these agencies and with working with bigger businesses, is that they feel like because they've got such a name for themselves or such a trust in their business as a whole, that they can actually just get away with a lot more. They can be like, you came for us, you bought into the brand, and this is the person that you get, you take it or leave it sort of thing. Whereas if you're an individual and you're a freelancer, there's a lot more, riding on it.
Yeah.
You can't afford to just be blasé, take it or leave it. You kind of have to get it right every time.
Yeah, but at the same time, what I would say is when you're working for someone else, sometimes there's more pressure because you can't say, actually, I don't want to work with this client. And I've had that personally, and it's one of the best things about being a freelancer is when I was working at agencies, I would sometimes get a company put in front of me like, okay, Chris, these are a client now. And I couldn't say, this isn't going to work for them. You've sold them Google ads. This isn't going to work. And I could tell from the very outset, this was not right for them. But because they've went through all the sales guys, at that point, the contract signed, they're all ready and waiting to go. It's like, you've just got to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Whereas now I get companies that have came to me, and it's happened quite often, and have said, we want Google ads. And I've said, don't wait. Or if I want SEO, that's a massive one as well. And I've just said, you're wasting your money. And if anyone else takes you on as a client, like, they're literally taking you for a ride. And so one of the best things about having your own business is being able to turn down clients that, have unrealistic expectations or sometimes not unrealistic expectations, but
it just doesn't work for them.
It just doesn't work for them. Yeah.
But I guess that's where the integrity comes into it. And that's where you can really build an amazing business.
Yeah.
Because if you refer them to someone, if you say, look, what you need here is interruption marketing. You need Facebook ads. You need to be on Instagram. This would suit way better to, someone strolling through. Pay-per-click, you're going to get absolutely blown out of the water. There's some absolute huge players in this in your industry. You're never going to afford to be able to compete.
Yeah.
You send them off to somebody else, they're going to think, wow.
Yeah.
If I ever need this, I'm working with him.
Yeah.
Because it's so it's difficult to make money. And it's not easy to build a business. If you're telling people to leave and go somewhere else, it just says a lot about you, that you're not just like snatching on to, we'll make it work. We'll force this, circle peg into a square hole, and we'll try and make it work.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about then, break it down, because I've got a bit of a understanding about how that whole world of the Google ads and stuff works, but what is it actually that you're achieving for people?
Yeah, so it's different for every sort of company, but let's say if you type in red dresses into Google, what you'll see is there's a load of product listings at the top, and that's called Google Shopping. And those ads are where people, they're searching for an exact product. You click on those ads, and it's really just about coming up at the right time to the right people for the right searches, in that you can make a profit. And obviously conversion rate comes into that quite a lot. And the bidding part of it, because what Google used to do is they used to make you bid money. So they'd say, okay, you would pay £1 for this click, someone else would pay £2, they'll get the click, and they'll come up more than you. Now that's all of that sort of optimized automatically. And so what you're essentially doing is just putting in the terms people should be searching for, types of demographics, audiences, the remarketing, the creative, to be able to get people onto your site and then obviously purchase.
So you don't actually, how does it work in terms of paying per click then? So is it just Google will put the right business in front of them? How do they determine what the right business is? Or is that the $1 million question?
No, you're right. It still is a bidding process, but it's all just optimized. But what you do now, and this is what a lot of really bad agencies and freelancers do, is they'll just run ads for a company and they'll say, this is how many clicks you've got. This is how much you've spent. These are the clicks that you came up for. And now the best agencies, and I would say it's the absolute minimum, but you'd be surprised. You actually can feed that data, how many sales you got, back into Google. And so you'll say to Google, I have £50 a month, £50 a day I want to spend, which is more likely, on, say, red dresses, like we said before. And then what you can do, let's say if it's a Shopify site or whatever sort of site it is, if someone purchases, you can then feed that back into Google. So you can say, okay, we spent £50 today. How many sales did we get? And then Google will optimize to get the most amount of conversions, and the bid is optimized based on that too.
Right, okay. So they kind of are you building an avatar then in Google to say, these are the people who went through and bought, we want more people like this?
Yeah.
More searches like this, rather.
Yeah, a lot of that's automated now. You used to sort of do that manually. Nowadays, Google will see that information and then will bid more for those type of avatars. And so it is building an avatar, but it's more of an algorithm now, rather than using machine learning, rather than doing it all manually.
Right, okay. So when you're working with a client then, say, for example, using the red dress analogy, what are you doing for them? So will they be giving you just what they want to succeed in, the links that they want to kind of, the products that they want to, get out there and get more people seeing, and then you'll basically just go in and build that campaign for them?
Yeah, so I'll be looking into like their USPs, what makes them different, because you still need to put in all the creative, all the copy, and then you obviously need to go like put in what terms you want to come up for. And that might seem easy if we're just using one sort of example, but let's say there's 10,000 products. Which ones do you focus? How do you structure the campaigns? How much money do you put into this versus that? So there's a lot that goes into it, and it gets really sort of complicated. And then there's a different side to this, and because I don't just work with e-commerce businesses, I work with like large, long sales cycles, B2B companies, which are sort of the exact opposite on a scale. And for them, it's sort of like, how many leads are you getting? How many SQLs, sales qualified leads are you getting? And like how close are you getting to actual conversions, which might be, 100K, 200K to over £1 million. So there's a lot that goes into it, and the structure and really having a deep understanding of the company is still super important.
So does that limit you as to how many companies that you work with? Because you have to figure out, you have to figure out more about their business so you can understand and give them the best chance of kind of being successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you'll do is you'll set everything up, and it's almost like a test. So people come to me sometimes and they expect you to know if something's going to work straight away. And it's like, it's not really how it works, because the tiniest of nuance can make something work or not. And so what you're going to have to do is sort of put out an initial sort of campaign theory in a way, and you think this is how it's going to work. And then you'll get back some data.
Yeah.
You'll see what conversions, what results you got, what worked, what didn't, because you can get granular. It might be red dress doesn't work, but red dresses with sequins, because that's more specific, might work, and it's less cost.
So you have to have a hypothesis at first,
exactly,
as to what you think is going to be successful,
and then
it's all about testing.
Exactly.
In the past, probably 10 years, I'd say I hear less and less people, especially smaller businesses, using Google ads and moving towards Facebook ads, just because it's more. It's seen as being more expensive for pay-per-click.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you've got a high ticket product, it makes more sense. But if you've got a kind of lower ticket product, what is it about, I see less people doing it as individuals. I know a lot of people who've got their own business who do their own Facebook ads.
Yeah.
But I see if people are going to go to Google, they're always kind of outsourcing it to somebody else. It's not something that many people are doing themselves. I wouldn't say comparatively to Google, to Facebook and Instagram. Is it just more complicated?
Yeah, so Facebook can be just as complicated, but what Facebook do, and it's unbelievable, and I'm not exaggerating when I say there's about 6 different ways you can run ads on Facebook. So the absolute basic is just to boost a post. And I mean, I wouldn't even class that as Facebook ads. It is really, but there's a lot lower barrier to entry.
Do that.
Yeah, definitely not.
If Facebook's just giving you a button where you can click it and say £26 gets this seen by 10,000 people, and you go, okay, thank you, and you click on it, and 10,000 people see it in Indonesia.
Yeah. There's a much lower
night in Newcastle.
There's a much lower barrier to entry. But the other thing is as well is like, so Facebook, you can generate demand. So let's say you want to, let's say if you are a plumber business, you can't really do Facebook ads, because if someone needs a plumber, they're going to Google plumber. They're going to go, they're going to search for it. You can't say, use my plumbing services, I'm amazing. Someone would, you could in a way.
Yeah, they could keep it in the back of their mind, but interruption marketing doesn't work very well for something that's high necessity. Because if you've got a leak, if your toilet is leaking everywhere, and you have to wait for Facebook to tell you that this plumber's awesome.
Exactly.
Then
you're done.
You're having
exactly.
That's something that you probably think, holy shit, I need a plumber now.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say Google was better for kind of urgency, or for when people have already know in their head that they want something?
Yeah, that's what it is. You can't generate demand with Google. It's a demand capture tool, essentially. But on the flip side as well, you actually can't use Google, because you can't use Facebook for that, but what you can't use Google for is something that someone doesn't know exists. So I have a lot of companies that come, we've got a brand new idea, it's absolutely amazing, we want to use Google Ads. And I'm like, okay, what would people search to find you? And they're like,
well, we're interruption.
We're brand new.
Yeah.
Like, no one knows we even exist, no one knows we're a thing.
Could you optimize for the problem that they solve? Because I assume they're not solving a new problem.
Yeah.
They're a better mousetrap.
Yeah, you can go higher up in the funnel, but typically that converts worse.
because now you're competing with the thing that already does it, that people know. And
Exactly.
if people see the thing that they have no idea what that is,
Exactly.
versus the thing that has been doing it for ages. So that's where Facebook tells you a new thing.
Yeah.
With a lot of what we do with the courses, we use a lot of Facebook and Instagram because it's interruption marketing. It's telling people that they would like a career in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
It's catching them at the point where they don't know yet that it's something that they could do, especially through government funding. They might not know that the government funding exists. So it's kind of interruption marketing, but then also our conversion is way lower than it would be through Google ads, I imagine, because if you're having to tell someone that they need a new career, then when the next ad comes along telling them they want to do something different, or they want to spend that money on a holiday, or they want to spend that money on, it's, these people had to be told that they wanted a new career.
Exactly.
Rather than going, I've always loved fitness, loved a career in the fitness industry. How do you become a personal trainer? Into Google, bang, 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 bang.
Exactly. But on the flip side of that as well, what you've got to remember is you'll probably get a higher conversion rate on Google. I mean, you definitely will, because people are searching for it, they're going to convert. But at the same time, that works. And lots of companies know it works. Therefore, the bids for those terms now go up and up and up. And it's almost like a self-balancing system where for things where Facebook and Google are both viable options, a lot of the time what you'll realize is the return on ad spends are very, very similar on both. Because if something works really well on Google, people will pay more for it, because they're making profit. And so it works less. And so it's literally like a self-balancing system.
Is
really.
Google better for higher ticket stuff, would you say? For more expensive services or more expensive, where, you might pay... I mean, I have no idea about the, CPM and stuff for... I mean, wouldn't even work. It's pay-per-click,
CPC,
isn't it?
yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. So I have no idea of the actual amounts. Like, what could you be paying for a... So what we're talking about here is one person clicking on... They want to buy a course. Yeah. You've advertised that course. They click yes to your Google ad at the top there when you search on Google. What does that usually run somebody? Yeah,
it can be as low as 40 pence, which is really, really low. Typically, it's normally about £1. That's like the, low competition. But on the high end, I think the actual highest has ever been, as a cool little fact, there was a really specific type of illness which people only got from something similar to asbestos. And it was lawyers who would take a massive percentage of these claims, no win, no fee. And they were paying, in America, it was around $350 for one click.
If you're their competitor, what's stopping you sitting there smashing that click? Is that a thing? Is that a real thing?
It used to be, and it still is to a small extent, but Google is very good at sort of identifying fraud clicks and then undoes them. And we'll give you the money back now.
Okay, but still, that could be very...
If you do got 20, all your friends,
Yeah, and you do... if you just do all your friends, or every single person... Absolutely, say you're a law firm with 100 people in the office.
100%.
And you go and get them to click on it 5 times.
100%, yeah.
And it's £350 a click.
Yeah.
I've got a bad track record of doing maths on this podcast, but it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a real thing then. That could actually...
Absolutely.
$350 a click is wild. That's like £300.
And I've never seen that. I think the highest I've ever seen is around... probably 20, 30, 40 pounds.
What sort of thing is that for?
Yeah, so one of them was there's a few examples. One of them was a sales outsourcing company. And so they essentially did sales they would outsource basically a sales function, sort of like a marketing agency does. And they were selling things that were 500k up to £2 million contracts.
So you don't mind paying, even if you...
Exactly.
What's the typical conversion rate then from somebody clicking on your ad?
Yeah.
To somebody actually following through and signing up or purchasing.
Yeah, I mean,
or being a lead.
It massively differs. So for e-commerce, the goal is normally around 2 to 3%. If you're getting that, that's brilliant.
So you're paying £1 per click.
Yeah.
So you're paying. So say you pay £100 for 100 clicks.
Yeah.
4 people purchasing.
Yeah.
A dress. At £100. So you have to really make sure that
the average order value is high enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that something that people have to take into consideration?
Yeah, so you've got to think about the average order value, but what's also really good with there's a lot of metrics you need to take into account, because there's that average order value, but then you've also got to think about, well, will these people come back? And so then you start talking about average customer lifetime value.
Right, okay, so then you go, okay, yeah, so where we sell protein, yes, we're going to break even on the first one because they pay £40 for a bag of protein, but we know that 50% of our customers will purchase monthly.
Yeah.
And now we've got their email address and their number because they've ordered.
100%.
And on payday, I still get the messages from My Protein
Yeah,
now.
me too.
Payday discount. So they know now they're paying not only for the first purchase, but they're paying for that data really, aren't they?
That's what the smart companies will do, yeah. I mean, some don't get past that, you'll be surprised, but a lot of companies know that. And like even the one that's a £2 million contract, that's a reoccurring thing. And so, you know, it can quickly
I'm in the
spiral.
wrong fucking business, man. Who's charging people £2 million? £2 million or what? How often do they charge that?
Oh, maybe every year, 2 year, but depends on how many people. They might have, 5, 6 people who are constantly smashing the phones, and they have clients like Deloitte, PwC. It's like all the companies you'd expect to have that.
Yeah,
but it's it's easier than it's better than that than training a full sort of team and then having to pay holidays and think about they pay London wages and now everyone commission, and it gets pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Obviously, they're saving whatever they're doing, saving their clients money
100%.
or time, because that's the only two things really.
Yeah.
So, what do the businesses do? So take e-commerce out of the equation.
Yeah.
Like service businesses. What are we talking about in terms of, a pay-per-click for a service business? So.
Yeah, I mean, solar is one of the worst. I mean, in terms of CPCs, it can get over like 8, 9, 10 pounds.
What's that, sorry?
It's like solar panels, sorry.
Oh, solar panels. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a common one people use Google Ads for, and Facebook, to be fair. But their cost per clicks are really high.
They sell solar panels to people?
Yeah, or install them and actually go onto your roof and do the full thing.
Okay, so you type in solar panels installation Newcastle,
yeah,
and they're paying potentially £10 for that. What's a good conversion rate?
I would say for that, if you have like a really good funnel, you could probably get 5 to 10%.
Okay, so let's say solar panels cost $3,000,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. There's sometimes be a lot higher.
Yeah, it varies. 6, yeah. So then you've paid £1,000 for 100 leads.
Yeah.
And you're lucky. You're having a good time if between 5 and 10 of them do it.
Yeah.
But obviously it makes total sense because they're paid for after even if you get 1%, you probably make money. So
100%. And then you've also got to think about and this is the stuff that you don't take into account because you can't measure it in analytics. But let's say, let's go for My Protein example. If you use My Protein and then you recommend it to 3 of your friends.
Yeah. Oh, well, you can't take into account, you're putting the solar panels up and then,
your
suddenly
neighbor
4 neighbors are going,
exactly.
oh, I would like solar panels. So yeah, there's definitely, the good thing about cold outreach, if it were, or which essentially marketing is, because the people don't know about you before. It's not warm outreach. They're not like a warm lead.
Yeah.
Marketing to people who already bought your products, the warm lead, is that you enter into new markets that you wouldn't currently be in.
Definitely.
If your solar panels, if you're selling them door to door in the Newcastle area, then you're limited to that. But as soon as you get a job in Brighton, and now you've got the banner up outside saying we're installing solar panels, save 50% on your energy bill over the next 5 years or whatever it is, then that kind of knock-on effect and it's hard to gauge. 100%. So obviously you're saying there 5 to 10% is good, but that's with a professional like yourself who's extremely experienced and good at doing what they're doing. Is Google Ads something people can do for themselves, or kind of, but not very well?
Yeah, it honestly depends, because there's so many little intricacies that if you leave one button unchecked, or you use the wrong match type for a keyword, or there's lots of little things that if you just press the wrong button, your whole budget's essentially going to disappear and you get nothing for it.
Right.
And I mean, setting up the tracking is extremely difficult if you're not using, something like Shopify. And so, yeah, you can do it yourself, but it depends on how much time you want to put into it.
This definitely sounds like the sort of thing where you either pay for something in time or money.
Yes,
and you should be
100%.
paying for this in money.
Yeah.
Because the time it takes, you're wasting time learning about it when you can use someone who's spending, potentially millions of pounds a year an ad budget, and you just get better. When I've been involved in ads and doing Facebook ads and doing our own Instagram ads, the return on investment after I'd spent a couple of hundred pounds was terrible compared to the return on investment by the time I'd spent a couple of thousand, because I just knew what worked more. If that number's a couple of million, then you just so nailed down into what works. And obviously you're spending the client's ad budget and things. So a client comes to you, what's like a usual ad budget? Where's the sort of figure that people can get started working with a consultant like yourself?
Yeah, so the way it works is, what you've got to think about is the ratio of management fee to ad spend. And this, I mean, I'm going to go on a bit of a longer answer, but to give you a proper idea in case, you know, people want to use a different freelancer or whatever. If you're paying, and I'm going to pull numbers out of thin air, let's say you're paying £500 a month for a management fee.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay £500 in ad spend, you're going to get £500 worth of results, right? From his work. If you give that freelancer £1,000, you're only paying 33% extra, or of however you want to see it, 50% extra, but you get 100% more results. And so the ratio of ad spend to management fee has to be, the better that is, the more results you're going to get.
So will most of them say, right, I take a flat fee, X, and the ad spend's up to you. I suggest for what you want to achieve now, you spend £1,000 a month, and these are the results we'll give you. Obviously, if you then turn around and you're like, yeah, we've absolutely smashed it, there you go, and they've just had 10 grand hit their bank, they might say, okay, put an extra 2 straight back in, or whatever it might be. Will most people who are managing the actual ad spend, will they charge like a flat fee for being the consultant who does it? Or is it kind of like, is it a bit of a piss take if you're charging someone 500, say, and you're doing, you know, they might be spending 1,000 compared to a different company spending 20 grand a month in their ads? Yeah,
definitely. So the way I work is it'll be, you know, £450 a day, or you know, as an absolute minimum, but then, or 8% of the ad spend, whatever's higher.
Okay.
And so, because there's a minimum amount of work you have to put into, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if a company said he's 20 grand, all of a sudden I'm like,
you're gonna have to test a lot
more work.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but for a small company that just wants to, you know, a local company that just wants to dip their toes, at an absolute minimum 500, and I've done it for 500 ad spend before.
Yeah.
But realistically, you'll get a lot better. You'll get double the results, really.
Yeah.
With £1,000.
And it's not only double the results, it's double the results and then some, because also you'll be able to test more. I think that's what people sometimes don't understand, that if you spend 10x on ads, it's not just a 10x increase. It's also the ability to
get the
data at 10x to go, this works on this level. We can, you know, because you're not going to want to spread the different, you know, and I don't know how it works with Google Ads, but I understand Facebook. You're not going to want to spread the A/B, like split testing, so thinly that you're not 100%. Getting any leads back. You're going to want to spread it like, you know, maybe £2 on there, £2 on there, £2 on there, £2 on there, £2 on there. If you've now got 100 £2 to play with, versus 10 £2 to play with, and then you actually find that the Goldilocks zone is these 4 creatives here.
Exactly.
And then you can plow deep into that.
Yeah.
So
it's one of the biggest misconceptions people have is they'll say, okay, how long will it take until we know? And it's not a matter of time. It's about the data and how much you spend. So, you know, for red dresses, we could spend £1,000 over 30 days, in which case I'd say, okay, we need really 30 days to know if it works. Or we could spend £1,000 in 2 days. And it's the same amount of data. You know, there's no difference between spending it in 2 days to 30.
People are just married to not wanting to spend £2,000 in 2 days.
Yeah.
I think it's just the kind of, even if they'd rather spend £2,000 over a month because it seems more sensible.
Yeah.
Which I think is that a misconception then from them? Because it doesn't really.
It might, just because of a day of the week. Obviously, that's the only factor, really. And yeah, you know, clients want to spend the money over an amount of time so we can get the lead sort of trickling in, rather than it just being all at once and then nothing.
You don't want to open the floodgates and not be able to manage the demand. Because now, the next time someone sees your ad, there's no way they're clicking on it because they're going, that shit, they never get back to you.
Yeah.
And then you're having a nightmare. So the average, you know, what would you say if someone wants to, you know, get serious about breaking in and starting doing some Google ads? What would you say the kind of minimum investment that they need to have, you know, put away? Because there is people who watch this who've got businesses who are in different industries. So what would you reckon the minimum investment would be? Yeah, I would say probably, you know, you're going to test it around 2-3 months. So you could probably get away with, say, £3,000. £3,000. They should have £3,000, and that would pay for the ad spend and for the
management
to get somebody to do it
for 3 months. But at an absolute minimum, really. Ideally, you'd want more, but you can also find out if it works, especially if it's e-com and it's like lower ticket, lower cost per clicks. on lower than that. So you might know within the first month if it works. Because like, let's say, and it is data that you buy back, and I mean that when I say it, it's not just cost. Because if the cost per click is £10 and you spend 1,000, you're only going to get 100 clicks. And 100 clicks might get you 1 or 2 leads or 0 leads, but then the next 100 clicks might get you 5. And so it is, but if you're getting 1,000 clicks, then, it's more statistically significant. So yeah, it depends on the service, but as an absolute minimum, about £3,000 for 3 months. And, it's sort of like a ballpark figure. Sometimes you might want to spend that more and get more data back in the first month to know if it works.
It totally depends on people's businesses as well. Some people are like totally seasonal businesses.
Yeah.
Some people run in like cycles where they'll have they're more of a campaign driven enterprise. So they'll have like campaign goals where they have to have all the leads in by then. Obviously, if you're selling tickets to a concert, it's fucking no point.
Yeah.
Like, keeping the ad running after it's finished.
Yeah.
So it's like building up to that.
Yeah.
So, because I do think there is a lot of people who would massively benefit from Google Ads. I do definitely think that people are not scared of Google Ads, but definitely, the barrier to entry is lower on Facebook ads because they think, oh, well, you can just chuck 20 quid in and see what happens. And, you might get a lead.
And if it works, you just scale it.
But I think with Google Ads, would you definitely say, you have to have a bit more of capital ready to put into it? It's not like Facebook where you can be like 10 or in 20. You need to actually, you have to have that money like kind of set aside. And then every time it clicks, does it kind of come off of that?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean like you need £3,000 right away, but you might just say, okay, it's going to be £1,000 a month for the next 2-3 months. The beauty is though that you only pay if you get a click, whereas with Facebook ads, you could just get no clicks. People could just keep seeing your stuff, seeing it. It's CPM, so it's just cost per 1,000 people who view it. Yeah,
and then that's on you. There's a lot more creative onus on the individual to be like to create something that looks good, whereas Google Ads, outside of the e-commerce shop bit at the top, it's just copy, isn't it? Yeah, well, you've mixed two really good points together, which can be answered. Please.
So what you've got is you've got the shopping part, which absolutely, and the search part. People will click on those, and I've learned this. People will click on those no matter what. So you could put like the copy in could be completely different to the keyword, can have nothing to do with it, and I've seen it when mistakes have been made at agencies, etc. And people will still click, so you'll still get charged. But what you can do is there's remarketing in Google, which is actually display. And so the display ads, which will be on the side of websites, like The Sun has it on, eBay even have Google ads, which is really funny. And it's like banners across websites. And for them, it's all visual. And yeah, because people tend to not click on them, you can get absolutely ridiculous CPMs. So I have a client, it's only remarketing. So it's big ticket, probably 1 mil plus contracts, insurance software. And we're doing a remarketing campaign for them. And they had 288,000 impressions for £200.
Right.
And it's because they're only playing per click, and we had 88 clicks.
It's so niche as well. Like you would just, so few people would click on that because it would apply to so few people.
But then what that means is that the people that come onto the website see those ads everywhere. Like you cannot escape it. Like we had their directors being like, God, we cannot get away from these ads, which is a good thing because it means the brand recall is out of this world.
And you do, like, after you've seen something a few times, you start trusting it because you've seen it more.
Yeah.
And rightly or wrongly, you're familiarized with it. So you're like, oh yeah, those guys again. Well, fuck, they must be legit. Because I keep seeing them everywhere. Yeah. And they don't know that you've just got like this, they're just following those individuals around because they've gave it some sort of like, they've looked at it a little bit.
Yeah.
So outside of the ad side of things then, obviously the rest of Google, search engine optimization, it's a buzzword. You hear people talking about it all the time. I think most people probably don't even understand what it means.
Yeah.
They think, I'll write a blog and then I'm optimized and everything's going well. What is it? What can people be doing from an SEO perspective themselves, and when's it time to bring in an expert?
Yeah, so honestly, I think people could do an absolute ton of SEO themselves, but there's so much bad information out there on SEO. It is ridiculous. And like the whole blogging thing is the perfect example. For most companies, blogging is absolutely useless from an SEO perspective. And so, but
Even if they're adding keywords.
Even if they're adding keywords, especially if they're adding keywords. And that's the sad thing is that, you know, SEO, it is difficult and it is hard, but at the same time, there's very easy steps that companies could be doing that could get them SEO results, and they wouldn't need an expert for, but you just have to know how to navigate that information, and it's really difficult. For example, the title of a page, it's called the meta title, and it's typically what you call a page on a website. If you make the title of that page something that someone would search for, there's a very good chance that you will rank, you know, for local companies, for really small companies, if there's not a lot of competition, you could rank on the front page just doing that.
So if you call the page "How to Become a Personal Trainer," for example, I just use these examples because I understand it. Because if you called the page "How to Become a Personal Trainer,"
you would have to do that to rank for that term, but that's a nationwide term. You're not going to outrank all the massive companies that do that,
right?
Unless you are a massive company yourself
that's doing it. Okay.
But let's say you're a plumber in Newcastle,
yes,
and you name your page "Plumber Newcastle," you could absolutely rank for that.
Really? That's something that people just would not think.
And so blogging for a plumber is absolutely useless if you're not doing the basics of just trying to optimize your service pages.
Calling the name, the pages. So you could call the... So each page, you could have them as like... Say, for example, you were a national company.
Yeah.
You could have each page called like courses in Newcastle,
absolutely.
Courses in here, courses in here. And then the chances are... And then... you'll see, we've actually getting loads of people coming through from Gateshead.
Yeah.
You might then go, well, why don't we look at putting some money into searching that? Because that's obviously something that people are looking for that doesn't have a lot of hot competition. Yeah,
typically I'll do it the other way around, where I'll do search for a company, and then that allows us to test what the conversion rate's going to be.
Right.
And so we'll know if we're top for this page, how many clicks are we going to get? How many conversions will we get? And then we can say, okay, well, actually, if we ranked organically for that, we'd get just as many clicks, if not more, because typically more people click on the organic. So we know that's a good keyword to target.
Yeah, I skip the ads.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Is that because I think, why do I think that people who've just paid for it are going to be less of a good choice than people who have ranked organically? Unless sometimes the people who are ranking organically are also the people who are doing the ads. I see that more often than not.
Yeah.
In which case, because I know they pay per click, I just click on their normal one.
You're a nice guy.
Because I'm like, well, I'm going to click on it anyway. I'm not, because you know that they pay for the click. So you're like,
well, you know, sometimes what you could do is be nice to the people like me. If you know you're going to convert, click on the ads, and then they'll get all the benefit, and it'll look good for them. So sometimes it's nice to do it the other way.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. But that's why you can't be a good person anymore.
No,
because you always like it's like you ever seen The Good Place on Netflix?
No,
it's this thing about like getting into heaven, and like nobody gets it anymore because somewhere down the line you used antiseptic and you killed a beetle or something. Do you know what I mean? Or you like you killed a turtle with a straw you had. So it's like impossible. Yeah.
In terms of SEO, so the way Google actually got ahead of their entire competition. So pre-Google, and I can't remember this, but I've heard.
I remember
stories.
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, so it was Ask Jeeves. Well, they used to use a similar thing. So
are they still around?
I don't think so.
Is anyone running Ask Jeeves ads?
I don't think so. No.
Pay per clicks like 0.1p.
Yeah.
On an Ask.
There's one
Ask
that plants
Jeeves.
trees. I think that's the second highest one I've seen.
Is Yahoo still a thing?
I think so. Oh, that's actually the main search engine in Indonesia, I think.
Yahoo.
Or Taiwan. Yeah, everyone uses Yahoo instead of Google.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Interesting.
So
Taiwan.
the way Google got ahead of all of its competition, instead of just listing pages like the yellow pages, used to just list websites alphabetically. What Google did is they looked at scientific journals, and scientific journals, the way people sort of hold scientists in have a reputation is by how much their papers are cited.
Right.
And so if you look at the top 5 cited scientists, they're all it's like Tesla, Einstein, Newton,
right, okay.
As you'd expect.
How many other people have used their work as a...
Exactly.
Right.
And so Google looked at that and thought, okay, we can use this for SEO. And essentially, if you link to a website, that is like an endorsement, and that's how Google sees it.
Right.
And so, and how many endorsements you have influences how big your endorsement is of another company. So, and that's basically, it's just links, like literal like links.
Yeah,
that you can
it's like
click
a
on.
hierarchy.
Exactly.
It's, you know,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
person
100%.
is well respected and they think this thing's well respected.
Therefore-
so that thing's really well respected.
Yeah.
And if they think something else well respected, then it must be really, really well respected.
And that's how backlinks work, yeah.
And then that's, you know, so the best way to get optimized on Google is to do stuff that people share.
Yeah,
Outside
to an
of
extent.
Google, probably. So
Yeah.
have something that's noteworthy of, you know, say, getting people to share, wow, this thing is really good information.
Yeah, so there's two basic ways of building links nowadays, modern. One of them is paying for them, and a lot of agencies will advise companies not to do that, but actually it's in their best interest to do it.
To pay for
the link, so literally just give them money for it. So I will go to a blogger who has a lot of backlinks themselves, they're well respected in a field, and saying, will you link to my website? And they'll say, yes, if you give me £200, and they know the deal, you know the deal, you do it. And that's how a lot of people get links. And that's a great way of doing it, because trying to build something that people share is extremely hard.
Yeah.
So the second way of getting backlinks is something
trying
called...
to create viral content. It's like there's so many factors that contribute to it. And sometimes you have to promote things paid first, you know, work with influencers, because then you can create things organically once people have seen it and they trust it and they like it, and then other people share it because that person shared it. Okay, yeah. Okay, so step one, I'm going to try and get backlinks to my website, and I can check that on
Ahrefs free backlink checker.
Okay, so I can go on there and check how many I've got.
Yeah.
And I can also go out to other people who've got good backlinks.
Yeah.
And then I can some value proposition to get them to link to my website, regardless of how I do that. I'll figure out a way of doing it.
Yeah.
There's companies out there that we could do that with. And it can't be through like YouTube and stuff like that.
No.
It has to be through their actual URL website.
Exactly.
Cool. No problem. The people can figure that out.
Yeah.
Next thing, they would start their own blog where they would go on Ahrefs
backlink checker.
Backlink checker.
Yeah.
And they would see, right, how is this keyword or key phrase gonna, how is this actually doing?
Yeah.
Okay, these businesses have got 100 backlinks.
Yeah.
Is that how it's measured?
Yeah, literally. Like, it could be amount. I mean, as an expert, you'd probably look at how many backlinks the people who are given them the links to, because 100 links from random crappy sites,
right?
They're not going to be worth anything. 100 links from like the Guardian, BBC, you're like, oh god, that's a lot. But it gives you an actual score that measures this.
Okay, so it gives you a score that
out
shows,
of 100.
Okay, so it gives you a score. So someone's 30 out of 100.
Yes.
You're 30 out of 100.
Yeah.
You go, right, this is someone's 70 out of 100. You go, fuck it, I can't
never
compete
mind.
with them. But eventually you'll be 70. So then you can do as well. So you go 30 out of 100.
Yep.
You go, right, so my keyword, the name of this blog is going to be how to become a personal trainer in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And then, so now I've wrote that blog about that, then what's next?
Right, so there's sort of different rules that you need to adhere to when you're doing this. So the first thing is you want to put don't have enough time to go through all of them, but what you'll want to do is put the keyword in the meta title, in the meta description, and normally this is just in the back end. If it's on like WordPress or whatever, it'll have a section for this. You want to make sure the keyword's included in the content. You want an image on there, at least one image. More than one doesn't help. Less than one will harm you. It has to be at least one. There's alt text.
Is it good if the picture's related to what you've just said? So maybe a picture of Newcastle.
Definitely. I mean, Google has reversed image. So one of the things people theorize, we don't know 100%, is that they will actually sort of resolve this image, see what it is, and then that could help you ranking for sure.
Right.
You want to put the alt text, which is like a bit of text you can assign.
Should it be your own picture?
Probably. I mean, that would be better.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't know for sure, to be honest. Okay. And then, you want the alt text for an image, which is, it's meant to be for blind people, but also the file name of the image.
Explains what the image is.
Yeah, just literally put the keyword in there.
Right.
And that would be a good place to start.
And that's a good place to start. And then hopefully people can start getting ranked a little bit, and then, make some sales off it. And then I think definitely the crux of this conversation is once you get to a stage where you're ready to spend money on Google Ads, it's time to reach out to someone like yourself. So if people, what's the avatar of the sort of business that you would like to work with? Like who are the sort of businesses that should think about like contacting you personally?
Yeah.
Like what do they look like? What's a good business for you to work with?
Yeah, I think it'd just be anyone who wants to grow their business, has the capacity to grow, because, one of the worst things is working with a company, but then they're fully booked within a month and you have to turn them off. So yeah, ideally you've got a lot of capacity. You're not relying on this as a sole sort of sales channel, because you need to be getting sales, and otherwise, if you're totally relying on Google Ads and it's a super high pressure environment, it might take 2-3 months to get right. So make sure you've already got the business set up, and make sure people want your business.
Yeah.
And want your...
It has to be tested elsewhere. Because the last thing you want to do is... It's not terrible making mistakes when you've got 5-10 clients.
Yeah.
You can fix those mistakes, you can plaster over them, you can have personal relationships, you can speak to people.
Yeah.
People who grow too big too fast, the mistakes that they make are huge, and the consequences are dire, because there's so many moving parts and there's so many people to say, this was shit, this didn't work. Yeah. And one thing I found, especially if you're in any sort of industry, whatever industry you're in, no matter how fucking big you think it is, it's not that big. Because if you work in any sort of industry, whether it's education or finance or tech or anything, I thought education was a massive industry. There's hundreds of colleges, and I go from one college and I work with another college, and someone from that college is working there, and I'm like, holy shit, this world's tiny. And if you've left a negative impression on people, that can really fuck up how people perceive you moving forward.
100%. Yeah, I think that you've always got to play the long game with clients, and that's what it sort of links back to what we were talking about before in terms of, being willing to turn away business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because it's the long game, essentially, because I've never, and obviously some of them haven't played out yet, but almost all the times I've turned away business, it's ended up coming back even bigger and even better, whether it's been a referral or whether it's decided later down the line when it is right for them, they've come back to me. Or there's been times when I've turned a certain part of work away and said, that's not going to make a difference to your business. And then they've come back and have had an even bigger sort of proposition and contract. So yeah, 100%. And I think the companies that will want to work with me, I think, are just people who, it can be any sort of industry that I don't really do any specialisms, but just someone that wants someone that can trust and isn't just trying to grab their money. And run. I'm a genuine expert, and I'll just be completely transparent and honest at all points.
Yeah, mate, thank you so much for coming in. It's been really educational for me. So hopefully, a lot of people will have seen that there's a lot more to Google Ads, but also that it's definitely something that they can be looking at, getting involved with, because I think that, there's so much uncertainty out there. I do think there's, you should always have a few different streams of ways of getting like leads into your business.
100%.
But I think once you get to a stage where you can afford to outsource some of that, nothing would fill most business owners or self-employed people with joy more than just having sales going into their business, like bing, 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 through a funnel, paying, or even like a really qualified, what did you call them? A sales ready lead, sales qualified lead?
Yeah, sales qualified lead,
Someone who's like went out of their way and said, I want this service. I've seen you on Google. I've been through your website. I've been through the competitor's website. I've chose to get in touch with you. I'm ready to work. That takes a lot of pressure off business owners. And, a sale, especially in a service industry, if you just had a money hit your Stripe account and people are ready to rock and roll and you're just ready, that's life-changing for some people in their industry. So yeah, definitely. It's been really, really interesting hearing about what you do, and keen to see how you continue evolving with it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise.